Hi everyone, Kartik Krishnaiyer here for Beyond the Boundary, and we're going to put this on Beyond the 90 as well. Politics and sports. With this T20 World Cup about to start tomorrow in India, the start of the tournament has been completely overshadowed by geopolitics and the political ramifications of the relationship between India and some of its neighbors who had qualified for this tournament. And as someone who has a background in politics, I spent the first 10 years of my professional life working politically here in the States, and then transitioned in 2006, 2007, that time period, toward working in what we call soccer in the United States, what is universally called football in most of the rest of the world, and have worked in and around cricket the last few years, concurrent with working in soccer, football. And what I found when I moved from actual government and politics in the States to working in soccer was actually more political than the politics. Now, we were not in the era of massive polarization in the States when I worked in politics. Things were beginning. I think that the current polarization in the United States dates itself back to the 1980s or 1990s, but it was just beginning. And there was still some degree of consensus and ability to work together. But what happened when I went into soccer is I realized there were these cleavages, there were these breaks, there were these factions in the governance structure of the sport, both in the United States and at the global level, and actually at the North American CONCACAF level, that were things that I had not experienced actually working in politics. But the good thing about football in those days, because FIFA was very strict about this, was there was no government interference in sporting events, in football events, soccer events. The federations and their governance was an issue. The confederations and their governance was an issue. And the global governing body, FIFA, and their governance was an issue. And individual leagues had their issues. Leagues that were sanctioned by entities that were part of FIFA or were members of FIFA. But then, in the era of Gianni Infantino, I know everybody loves to beat up on Sepp Blatter, although I think Blatter's reputation and that of Michel Platini have been rehabilitated by Infantino's actions. FIFA and the sport of football have become nakedly political. If the courts intervened in football in the past, or governments intervened in football, those national federations would be suspended. Now, if you're not cozying up with some sort of government entity, then you're not playing the game right in FIFA. Maybe it did start when Blatter was the president, because of course he went to dinner with Roman Abramovich and Vladimir Putin the night before the vote on the 2018 World Cup, which England very naively thought they had sewn up. I actually thought it might go to Spain and Portugal. Didn't go either place. Went to Russia. The Qatar thing was something, by the way, Blatter was not in favor of and tried to prevent. And I think a lot of people forget that Blatter's big rival within FIFA at the time was the chairman of the Qatari FA, Mohammed bin Hammam, right? Was that his name? And it's all, some of the stuff is all very hazy. And so Blatter did not want Qatar getting the World Cup, but there were enough FIFA members, FIFA vice presidents that did, because, well, you know. So it became nakedly political at this point. We know about Infantino now with Trump. Cricket always had the potential of being equally volatile because of the countries that play cricket are historically anglicized countries that have had sometimes tense relationships with one another, India and Pakistan in particular. But what has happened in this World Cup, I think, is unprecedented. Bangladesh effectively saying, we will not come to the World Cup because we're concerned about our safety. I've gotten into in a previous video about why India and Bangladesh relationship has broken down. Sheikh Hasina has been given exile in India. There's also religious strife now, let's face it, between the two countries. But here's the big kicker, I think, in talking about all of this and thinking about all of this, is that Bangladesh would not play matches at Eden Gardens in Kolkata. They said they feared for their safety there. You have to understand the ethnicity of they're Bengalis, people from Bangladesh. Literally, the country is called the land of Bengalis. Bangladesh, that's what it means in Bengali. Or Bangla, as the language is Bengali, is what we call it in English. And Kolkata is now a Hindu-dominated Bengali city, Bangladesh a Muslim-dominated Bengali homeland, so to speak. So there were offers, which I did not know at the time. I've been working my sources in India. There were offers from the cricket associations of both Kerala and Tamil Nadu in South India to host Bangladesh's matches, either in Kochi, which is not a host city, by the way, for this World Cup, or Chennai, which is, of course, where the U.S. is going to play 2 matches in Chennai. And Bangladesh said no, and the ICC could not ascertain a credible threat, so they're out. Pakistan is unwilling to play against India in Sri Lanka because the government of Pakistan is saying we do not want our cricketers to fulfill these fixtures. So who's getting hurt in all of this? The cricketers and the fans, especially Bangladeshi fans, who are wild about their team and their team's emergence on the global stage of cricket in the last 2 decades. And here is the thing I have to push back on, and I try to be very down the middle about this stuff. I'm not a fan. I'm going to just come out and say I'm not a fan of PM Modi or Hindutva or his political party, the BJP. But there are a lot of people who are going into the Western media saying there is a clear double standard because India was allowed to play matches in Dubai instead of going to Pakistan last year for the Champions Cup, which is correct. But Pakistan has been, these matches, again, the match against India was going to be in Colombo. So they've been given the same accommodation. And what Pakistan has done, knowing the Pakistan versus India match is a big part of how the ICC sells television rights, media deals, it's a big part of what they do. I think they've really botched things up for the ICC. And I don't think this is a double standard. When you say we're going to participate in a tournament, but we're going to boycott a single match, and the government is the one saying that. It's the government of Pakistan who is saying this. And Pakistan is a state, I have a lot of fondness for Pakistan and the Pakistani project. And I'm not like most people of Indian extraction who look down on Muhammad Jinnah. I quite frankly have been fascinated by his life. But Pakistan is on the verge of being a failed state. So you have a government that's trying to, I think, play to the masses of popular opinion and say we're going to boycott a match against India. And the ICC, if there is a double standard, it's the ICC not saying, Pakistan, you can't participate in this tournament. Now, I will admit, from my own perspective, if Pakistan were not to participate in this tournament, it would directly benefit the United States who are in Pakistan's group. So I don't want to forcefully make that argument because people say, well, you're American, you want the U.S. to advance. And of course, we were in a group with Pakistan last time and beat Pakistan. This time, I don't think the U.S. is going to beat Pakistan, by the way. I think the tables have turned a little bit. Pakistan's coming into this World Cup in great form. But once a government starts dictating to cricketers and to a cricket board who and what they can do and what they cannot do, we have a problem. Now, I also think it's a problem that India does not. India is very difficult about getting anyone with Pakistani, connected to Pakistan visas. And so speaking of the U.S., we have 2 or 3 cricketers, Ali Khan, Jahangir, I think maybe Mohsin, I think 3, maybe they were Pakistani, of Pakistani extraction, who were denied visas initially. At least the 2, Jahangir and Ali Khan were, for sure. And the ICC had to intervene. So that's not right either. I mean, there's so much concern here in the States about Donald Trump and the 2026 World Cup. I don't know that Trump is going to go around denying visas to members of the Iranian team. I don't think Trump is going to go around denying visas to members of the South African team. These are countries which the U.S. is currently in conflict with. Although the South African thing ebbs and flows, because now South Africa is endorsing the use of ICE. Even though Trump previously was saying South Africa is committing genocide, or Trump's allies were saying South Africa is committing genocide against its white population. I don't want to get down that rabbit hole. I have some unique opinions about that, which may not correspond with the anti-colonial narrative or the kind of pro-European narrative. I'm very much in the middle on that. But yeah, this is not good. And I don't know why the ICC hasn't taken a more forceful stand with Pakistan the way they did with Bangladesh. And I think maybe the stand with Bangladesh may have been over the top. And Scotland comes into the tournament having not qualified, having lost in qualifying. But it is what it is. It is where we are.